Alright, so this video is kinda hard for me to make, if I'm being honest, but at the same time, I feel like it's necessary. The concept of sexuality in the furry fandom hasn't really been something I've gone into besides in my one video on pool toys, which was a very brief discussion. There's a lot more to all of this that I haven't discussed, and at the same time I've been very nervous to do it because, again, it's not really my role as the content creator to be like the parent and talk about the birds and bees and whatever and my audience, but ultimately, I think it's something the furry fandom and my audience and just people in general need to hear or see or just think about for themselves, which is why with this video I want you guys to just start talking, whether it be in the comments or on Twitter, because everything, including discourse, happens on furry Twitter. Ultimately, with this video, I want you guys to talk about this. I want you guys to think on your own, make your own decisions with it. I don't want it to seem like I'm gatekeeping or telling you need to think this way. All of this is kind of just me thinking aloud. You can take it or leave it. It's all up to you. But this idea for, I guess, a video or just discussion came from someone mentioning something on my Twitch stream, which, if you didn't know, I stream on Twitch every weekday. I don't stream on YouTube anymore. That's what people have been asking me. This happened like a month ago, where originally I think we were talking about like Fluke Husky and the type of videos he made and just me sort of praising him for, I guess, making it in as little of a time as he did. But one video that we were talking about was his, I guess, Bad Dragon sponsored videos, sort of, where the end result, like a couple of days later, was Fluke received a care package from Bad Dragon on Twitter, and it was sort of like a weird sponsored thing, but not really. And then someone asked me in my Twitch chat, Beta, if you had the opportunity to, would you take a sponsorship offer from Bad Dragon? Now, obviously, the impulsive answer from me was, hell yes, absolutely, I'd take it easily. Easy money, free stuff, you know I'd enjoy it. The long-term answer, which in terms of me just thinking about it for 5 minutes, would be no. I probably wouldn't, and that's just me strictly taking in mind the audience that watches my videos. I always use the example from MFF 2018 right before the furry YouTuber panel. I was waiting in that fishbowl area at MFF for the panel to start. There was like a line of people going in and out waiting for this panel. I was kind of panicking. I think I was having a panic attack at the time, but I was just kind of existing on my own, waiting near everyone to get things started. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, a young girl, couldn't have been older than like 12, ran up to me with tears in her eyes, going, Beta, I'm so glad I finally got to meet you. And she gave me a big hug. Her mother was like right there trying to catch up. They were talking to me a little bit. She was so happy. She wanted to get a picture. The mother was like, she hasn't stopped talking about you since before the con. She's really wanted to meet you. Thank you for like the videos and what you do. But that one example from MFF with the people that I've met, mainly the younger audience, I use that example of what I want, whatever it may be that I'm posting, whether it be a video, Instagram photo, Twitter post, something about me pooping or whatever. Sometimes I tweet that I'm pooping or something. Would I want that kid and or their parent to see that? Would it ultimately or morally be okay to show that kid? And usually if I second guess myself on it or I have to think about it, usually the answer is no. But the basis behind it is no. I probably wouldn't show them if it's questionable or if it's not safe for work or if it's remotely suggestive. You know, obviously there's a time and place for everything, and depending on like the post that I make or I guess the time or whatever I'm doing, you know, I might do something a bit more PG-13 or more funny for the sake of it being funny than it is sexual or just downright horny, because furries are always horny. But that question from Twitch kind of got me wondering, how is, I guess, NSFW handled in the furry fandom, and is it handled well? Now, obviously there are two sides of it, the online portion of it and then the IRL portion of it, with furry conventions, fur meets, and just stuff that is easily viewed in the public eye. The internet is kind of just a random shit show that literally anyone, regardless of what age you are, can make an account that says you're an adult and go and look at whatever content you want. There's no controlling that. And there's no moderation for that, unless, of course, you know, parents, but most of the time, parents just don't even care what their kids do nowadays. That's why they look to us. But like I said, in terms of content and what I post, I might have a PG-13 or kid-friendly audience, but you need to keep in mind, I myself am not a parent. I'm not going to be these kids' parents. I might be, I guess, someone they look up to, or someone they idolize, which I highly suggest not to idolize me, but I'm not their parent. That's why, like I said, I've been kind of on the fence about doing a video about the NSFW side of the furry fandom, or I don't know, I'm having a hard time making this video, can I say? But the same thing went for me when I worked at Sky Zone, an indoor trampoline park where a bunch of kids would just come around, jump on the trampolines, play dodgeball, whatever. You know, we have rules in place for kids to follow, regardless of if they want to follow them or not. They are there so they do not get hurt. And sometimes kids will get hurt. They'll start crying, they'll get upset because something happened, or they jumped and landed on their head, or whatever. Kids are indestructible, I understand that. But most of the time, you'd have the parents who would just let them go and have the free range of the whole place. Wouldn't even care. And we'd give them, like, the rundown of the rules. They wouldn't listen. We'd warn them when they're doing something, and they'll still do it anyways, and they'll get hurt. And the parents will come yelling at us, saying, you didn't watch my kids. You're the reason why they got hurt. The thing about the job that I had as a court monitor, as they called it, at Skyzone, we are not there to teach your kids how to behave. We're not a daycare, we're not teachers, we're not parents. It is ultimately up to how the parents parent their kids. So I kind of apply that mentality in terms of just what I want to post in terms of content or informational stuff even. But something I kind of wanted to talk about with regards to, I guess, how NSFW is taken in the furry fandom. You know, obviously you guys know I'm a very big advocate for kids being the future of the fandom. I've made multiple videos on young furries and my experience as a young furry, and I'm very much for kids speaking up and wanting to take part in the fandom and wanting to make it better. Okay, I know there's a lot talked about online and on Twitter about like, oh, kids make too much noise. They start causing drama because they're all teens and they're angsty. And it's like, some of it I can understand. To an extent, you know, they want the better of the fandom. And I think that's why I have a bit of hope for the next generation. But sorry, I'm digressing a bit. The point is, I'm very much for the future of the fandom being in the hands of kids. And I want to help them learn in terms of, I guess, just what the fandom is and what I've experienced so they can, you know, get a bit of a head start in it. And that's why ultimately I'm making this video. Now, as for how the fandom treats not safe for work content, obviously, I'm just gonna admit it. I know I've said this multiple times. The furry fandom promotes sexuality, okay? The furry fandom does have not safe for work content. I've seen this multiple times in media posts in the last year of like, oh, the furry fandom does have sexual content, but it's only like 3%. It's like a very small percentage. Shut the fuck up. It is not taboo for adults to participate in sexual content. There's a time and place for everything, okay? Obviously, you know, the situation matters. I wouldn't want to go around a convention space and see someone walking around in BDSM gear. I might think it's hot, but obviously I wouldn't want to see it. I want them to have their own time, their own event, their own panel, and specifically their own room to do it. But in terms of just the fandom being sexually positive, one example that I've kind of learned a little bit about that I don't know fully, I probably need to research it more, was there was an event at this convention called Further Confusion. It took place, I think, in January of this year in 2020. I can't remember, I wasn't there. But there was an event, or sort of a time, where adults could participate in, I guess, more adult-friendly activities at this convention, which was family-friendly and everyone was welcome. It wasn't one of those, like, 18-plus only conventions, which I don't think there is one as of right now. I can't remember what the event was, but at Further Confusion, I don't know if it was a day, I don't know if it was throughout the span of the convention, but there was a time after the convention and where the events were over, a certain time, generally at night, where adults over the age of 18 or whatever age could go to purchase adult content, go to adult events. But what I do know is that this adult event, or adult events that occurred at Further Confusion, over half of the attendees that went to this convention went to this event. So I'm just going to say that again. There was an adult-friendly event or set of events at Further Confusion. It was supposed to mainly be for people over the age of 18 or adults to go and participate in, whether it be purchasing the sexual items or adult-based items, whatever. More than 50% of the attendees at Further Confusion, and I think there was like 3,000 or something, there was probably more, I don't know for sure. More than half of the attendees went to this event. You cannot tell me 2% of furries, or like, oh, a small percentage of furries participate in sexual activities or adult-based activities in the furry fandom. You cannot tell me that that is the truth of it. It's the prime example that, yes, the furry fandom promotes sexuality. But at the same time, I want to give a bit of praise to Further Confusion, because one thing that I've discussed like many times in streams and videos is that in terms of adult content, or in terms of sexual content, or whatever, there's a time and a place for everything. Further Confusion promoted this event at a time where it was acceptable to do so. The way Further Confusion did this was excellent, and that's the only one I've heard of at the moment. In terms of the IRL furry fandom, I think conventions are doing it great. In terms of the online aspect of the furry fandom, yeah, that's just kind of up in the air. And obviously, you know, there aren't any conventions or events happening right now because, you know, the plague. I think the way things are heading in terms of what is allowed in the IRL aspect of the furry fandom and how we see our image and how I guess we want others to see the image of the fandom, I think it's excellent. I ultimately think it's going in a good direction. What I think we need to keep in mind, though, in terms of just online stuff, because things are very online friendly, where like anything can happen. Anyone can do anything online and receive no consequences for it. That's just how the internet is. I think a couple of things we need to keep in mind. There's a difference between if an adult-based individual, where their audience is strictly adults, made an open NSFW account. That would probably be more, I guess, justified than if I made an open NSFW account where like anyone could join. I'm just thinking about it, like imagine if I made an open AD account for Levi, because I know, here's the thing, I'll admit it, I participate in adult-based activities. I'm an adult. Do you need to know about them? No! No, you don't. Just remember that regardless of whether it's online or whether it's IRL, there's a time and place for anything. Read the room a little bit and just keep in mind the audience that you have and who's going to see what you post. I think adults should be able to participate in adult activities, but again, you know, think of the kids a little bit. They're not trying to ruin the fandom. Trust me, they want the fandom to be better generally. Keep in mind the event that Further Confusion had. I don't really know how to end off this video or what, I guess, final notes to have. So I guess if you guys want to leave your thoughts or comments or whatever, please feel free to leave them below. I'm really hoping that I can get some sort of discussion started online, whether it be Twitter or preferably Twitter, because that's where all furries pretty much are nowadays. Besides that, I've got nothing else with regards to this. This is all off the cuff and all unscripted, so take this as you will. Take this as my thoughts, delivered to you on a silver platter, and, you know, I take responsibility for what I say. So that about does it for me. Have a good day, guys, and stay life jacket as always. See you guys later.